Here's a little secret that most travel influencers are never going to tell you. Not every destination lives up to the hype. In fact, some destinations leave tourists downright disappointed. So much so that it can feel jarring, disorienting, and even physically distressing. And there's even a name for that: the Paris syndrome. It's a real-life psychological reaction that is sometimes experienced by first-time visitors to Paris, whose expectations of the city are so romanticized and hyped up that they get there and feel overwhelmingly disappointed and even depressed when they're faced with the reality that Paris doesn't quite live up to the hype they've built up in their mind. This phenomenon inspired a fascinating 2025 study by Radical Storage, a European travel services company. And they published what they called the Paris Syndrome Report. They collected and scanned nearly 100,000 Google reviews from the top 100 most visited cities worldwide. Then they used a list of keywords like disappointing, ripped off, or underwhelming to measure how often reality fell short of travelers' expectations. Reviews containing those keywords were flagged, their frequencies were tallied, and cities were ranked by how many negative mentions they received. And guess what? The number one most disappointing US destination is unfortunately right here in Florida. Can you guess which one? I'll give you a second to think about it. But before we reveal it, here are the top 4 most disappointing cities worldwide. Number 1, Cancun, Mexico, with 14.2% negative reviews. Antalya, Turkey, Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, and Beijing, China coming in at number 4. And right after Beijing, in the number 5 spot, is Orlando, Florida, with about 10.6% of Orlando reviews containing negative words like awful, disappointing, never coming back. And here's the top 10, with Honolulu at number 7 being the only other US city to make the list. So why do so many people leave Orlando grumpy while millions of others call it the vacation of a lifetime and keep coming back? Well, here's some of those things that kept coming up in these negative reviews and that visitors to Orlando complain about the most. Price and value. Yeah, the number one complaint is cost, and I 100% get it. Theme park tickets, food, hotels, even parking is outrageous now. Orlando is not a cheap place to visit. A single day ticket to Walt Disney World or Universal Studios can run a person over $120 for a day. That's per person, one day at the theme park. And it stings even more when you're spending thousands of bucks on a vacation to come down here only to find that one ride you most wanted to ride in the whole world is broken down, undergoing maintenance, or if there's a long weather delay. Afternoon thunderstorms can and do shut down the big roller coasters. And those on-property hotels at Walt Disney World and Universal can be shockingly expensive. Sometimes I personally don't understand how y'all are affording this stuff, and I live here. I can just drive over from Tampa for the day and drive right back. Sure, I'll be internally screaming at all the traffic on I-4, but at least I'm not paying these eye-watering hotel prices over there. And just check this out. Here is something crazy. Staying at Disney's Polynesian Resort, one of the most expensive resorts on property, can often cost more per night than staying in an actual waterfront hotel in the South Pacific. You can literally fly halfway across the world and sip a coconut on a beach in the real Tahiti and still pay less than sleeping in the fake Tahiti with a monorail stop. But if you do want to do the full Orlando experience at Disney or Universal and all that other stuff, use some of the crowd calendar apps and aim for off-peak days. And if you do want to save your wallet, Orlando has plenty of cheaper alternatives. Maybe swap a water park day for a beach day, go tubing at Rock Springs, even hit Gatorland. I'm not saying to do that instead of Walt Disney World or Universal. Those are probably the reasons you're coming here, but you can kind of mix those in on some days to have some cheaper things to do that are still really fun and a very Florida thing to do for a fraction of the price. And sometimes bundling a multi-day ticket with a hotel stay can bring that per day cost down quite a bit. And you may end up paying one lump sum that's more comparable to other destinations instead of just buying everything separate. Tickets, hotels, once you buy it all separate, it really starts to add up. And here's a tip Disney purists are going to hate to hear, but maybe consider staying off property.
Inconceivable!
Walt Disney World Good Neighbor Hotels and Universal Partner Hotels offer a lot of the same perks, even with free shuttle transportation for way less money. No, you won't be in the bubble, you won't be immersed in all that magic that a lot of people love, but it's a solid trade-off if the on-site prices are pushing your trip a little out of reach. And this might sound like advice straight out of 1987, but don't overlook travel agents. They are still very much a thing, and they often have access to deals and perks you're never going to find on your own. You're never going to find them on Expedia. And the cool thing is that a travel agent isn't going to cost you any extra. Travel agents get paid through commissions from the hotels, airlines, cruise ships, or package operators you book with. So it's one of those rare occasions where you can actually get some expert help, some insider deals, and it's not going to cost you an extra dime. And before we continue, if you're new to the channel, I cover everything Florida, from the theme parks to the state parks, beaches, hidden gems, all that stuff. And right now my goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I am almost halfway there. So I would sincerely appreciate it and thank you so much if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And you won't miss our next adventure around the Sunshine State. The next big complaint that keeps coming up about Orlando: the heat. And most people already know it's going to be hot here in the summer, but some people just don't understand how hot we're talking about, and they have no idea what they're signing up for when they plan that family vacation to Orlando in late July. And can we really blame them? A lot of people are coming down from the north, the Midwest. The average person from Wisconsin probably doesn't get to experience 97 degrees with 80% humidity all that often. But down here, that's like reality every single day from May through September. And we locals here, we kind of treat summer the same way northerners treat winter. That's the time of year we stay indoors a lot, and we usually avoid the theme parks. Usually. So come between November and April if you can. The weather is a lot nicer then. Lines are shorter. It's not peak season. I know that can be hard to do if you've got kids in school though. I do get that. But you won't sweat through your socks before breakfast. Another tip is something I've taught my kids and try to live by myself. It's a little mantra that I have, and that is embrace the suck. The heat, the humidity, the afternoon storms, they're all part of the experience. Expect a sweat and just accept it. Embrace the suck. Complaining is not going to make it any cooler, but it could ruin your good time. So if you're here in July, drink a lot of water, wear a hat, slap on sunscreen, and just embrace the suck. That might be a little too zen, a little too hippy-dippy. Maybe it's a little easier said than done, but hey, that works for me. The next big complaint Orlando visitors have, and again, I get it, the crowds. Now, over 70 million people visit Orlando every year. That is more than the entire population of the UK, all coming to one city. That's almost twice as many visitors as Las Vegas gets, and they get a lot. You came here thinking you'd share Main Street with Mickey and just get that beautiful picture of the castle with nobody in it, but instead you're shoulder to shoulder with every family east of the Mississippi River whose kids are on summer vacation all at the same time. Some days the wait for a butterbeer can feel longer than the runtime of all 8 Harry Potter movies. Ride queues can be over an hour or more sometimes, and you know what? You paid hundreds of dollars for this. Yay, feels great, right? And then getting back to that first big complaint people have about cost, these parks are now charging more money for skip the line perks like Lightning Lane and Express Pass. So you pay to get in, but to avoid the crowds, you gotta pay a little bit more for that edge. I don't love that, and a lot of people don't love that. But beating the crowds here is really all about timing. If you're here in the middle of the summer, spring break, Thanksgiving, or the worst one yet, that dreaded week between Christmas and New Year's, Orlando is going to be crowded. It just is. There's not a lot you can do about it. What you can do though is check crowd calendars, maybe visit during off-peak times, which I know, really hard to do when your kids are in school, and manage expectations. You know it's going to be crowded and it's going to be hard to see everything. That's just how it is. But here's a radical idea. Maybe balance those busy theme park days with a day when you step outside the theme parks, get away from the crowds for a bit. Orlando has some pretty cool neighborhoods to explore. Natural Springs, Kennedy Space Center, and the beaches aren't too far away. Maybe take a day trip over to Tampa, kind of get away from Orlando, get away from those crazy, maddening crowds a little bit. It's going to be really good for your mental health, and you'll be able to handle your trip here a little bit better. And these kinds of escapes and day trips will at least give you a little break and give you a chance to see more of the real Florida. And finally, here's the big visitor complaint about Orlando that's the most near and dear to my heart, and that's the traffic. The Orlando metro area has about 2.5 million residents, but it gets over 70 million visitors a year, so you can kind of see the problem here. Add in all the rental cars driven by people who don't know where they're going. They've got one eye on the road, the other is looking at the GPS. plus a big chunk of international drivers from the UK driving on what feels like the wrong side to them, and you've got a recipe for chaos. Throw in an afternoon thunderstorm, makes it even worse. Now, I kind of hate driving around Orlando for these reasons, and I have seen it all. I swear, the area between Universal to Disney with SeaWorld in between, some of the worst driving in the country. I've seen people braking on on-ramps, drivers treating their lane like it's a birthright, not letting people in, and once, I swear, I can't believe I saw this, I saw a guy do a U-turn from the far right lane. Yeah, he just yeeted his rental car across 3 lanes of traffic to make that U-turn. Nothing surprises me around here anymore. And sometimes Orlando's highway system feels like it was designed as a practical joke. You can make one wrong turn and you end up on a toll road with no exit for 6 miles. So congratulations, your little mistake cost you 12 miles and a few bucks in tolls. And then there's I-4, better known around here as the highway to hell. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has ranked it as the most dangerous highway in the entire US. It's almost always backed up, usually for no clear reason at random times of the day, and by the time you get from the airport to Disney, your toddler may have aged into a teenager. Now, there's not a whole lot you can do to avoid this. Traffic is going to be part of the Orlando experience, but you can make it a little bit easier. You can maybe stay near the parks you're visiting, use ride shares or the hotel shuttles if you hate parking and hate driving and all this. And if you're feeling adventurous, consider flying into Sanford instead of Orlando International. It's smaller, a bit less chaotic, sometimes cheaper. The downsides though, it's almost an hour from Disney, but at least you won't age a decade waiting in the TSA line. And unfortunately, you're probably going to be flying on Allegiant. So there's that. But at least it's a little cheaper. Now personally, I do get it. Orlando isn't authentic Florida. It's touristy, it's over the top, it's built entirely around escapism. And honestly, I kind of dig it. I kind of like that. I like all the theme parks, the big hotels, the tourist traps, the spectacle, and all that other weird stuff in one place. I kind of love it. Orlando is one of those handful of places like this that I think we kind of need. Las Vegas is another, but that's a whole different deal. Same but different. No one goes there for genuine local culture. We go because it's a completely different world. It's tacky, it's fake, and it's over the top, but kind of in the best way. Do I want every city to be like this? No, definitely not. But I think we do need a few places like this where the whole point is larger than life escapism. And Orlando is definitely one of those places, and I do kind of love it, even if I really do hate driving through it. So that's Orlando. Expensive, hot, crowded, yeah, it's all those things, but still 70 million people a year can't all be wrong, can they? And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more Florida travel videos from the theme parks to the state parks, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss the next one. It really means a lot to me, and I sincerely thank you for that. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you around the Sunshine State.